Good afternoon and loving greetings to all of you here at the hotel and to those of you who are joining online. I'm very happy to be with you today, and though there's a little sadness that this is the last day and we're into the closing hours of convocation, we really don't leave empty-handed. We leave with souls that are rejuvenated and refreshed and hearts that are filled with the presence of Guruji, our ever-living Guru. This past week has been an outpouring of inspiration as we immersed ourselves in the teachings of our Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda. Together we have meditated, we have chanted, we have gone on pilgrimages, we have shared in divine fellowship, and we have gained much from the classes and the satsangas. Somebody said to me, it doesn't get better than this. And in one sense it's true, but in another sense it does. Because everything that we have absorbed this week, along with your own devotion, your spirit of service, your divine friendship, goes with you wherever you go. And you bring that back to your family, to your home, to your work, and out into the world. Our beloved Dayamataji once said that the true worth of a guru is reflected in the quality of his disciples. And that is so true. And each of you, through your sincerity and your spiritual effort, you manifest our Guru's teachings in your daily life. So the question is, as you return to daily life, to your work, your family responsibilities, and the many souls that you meet on a daily basis, the pleasant ones and the not so pleasant ones, can we hold on to what we've gained this week? The calmness, the peace, the joy. Surely we can, and surely we will be tested, oftentimes by circumstances and sometimes by relationships. We're going to be talking a lot about relationships in this class. We know that some relationships can be very difficult. They can test us in ways that we never knew possible. And yet they can be among the strongest forces that turn us toward God. Because these tests can drive us to God for understanding. They can awaken the desire for compassion, for patience, and unselfish love. And that is why meditation is so vital, because it helps to bring into our relationships the qualities of the soul. This afternoon's topic, again, is bringing the calmness of meditation into our relationships. And it sounds so simple, doesn't it? We meditate, we're calm, we're at peace. What could possibly ruffle us? Who could possibly ruffle us? Well, we won't try to answer that question today, but we can say that every sincere effort, especially all the effort that you made this past week, builds a reservoir of inner peace and inner strength. And when those tests come along, those custom-made, very personal tests come, you have an oasis of calmness, of faith and spiritual poise to draw upon. Many years ago, during one especially challenging convocation, you can't have an event like this, a spiritual event, without Maya trying to thwart your event. And we were pretty stressed, some of us. And one of the senior nuns noticed that we were a little bit stressed that year, and she told us a story. And this took place many years ago at the Biltmore Hotel. She said that the late brother Ramananda and sister Lakshmi were coordinating convocation that year. And it was one of those demanding convocations. And yet, on opening day, they were outside the doors, the entrance, welcoming the devotees with radiant smiles and just really calm and welcoming. She said they looked the very picture of tranquility. And then Brother Ramananda, without changing his expression, leaned over to Sister Lakshmi and said, "Everything's fallen apart." And then the two of them went right back to greeting everyone with serene, radiant smiles. That story made me smile. But it also helped me to remember that, yeah, sometimes things do seem to be falling apart, and sometimes they really are. But we are stronger than our tests. We are stronger than Maya. And we can choose how we meet these difficulties. With calmness, even-mindedness, and sometimes even with a smile. Dayamataji wrote, "Calm inner serenity," Paramahansa Yogananda taught, "does not require a timid withdrawal from energetic, active pursuits." Indeed, his own extraordinary outer accomplishment in pioneering India's teachings of meditation in the West required the utmost dynamic, creative power. He carried on his work not primarily in some secluded hideaway, but in the bustle of cities like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, some of the noisiest and most restless places on the planet. Yet he was always joyously centered in the native, imperturbable calmness of the soul. Isn't that what we all want? To live in that imperturbable calmness of the soul, wherever we are and with whomever we are with. And as we deepen our meditations, which are the foundation and the very bedrock of our teachings, we cultivate those divine qualities of the soul. And when those tests come, we will have that imperturbable calmness of the soul. It's a good mantra. And the Guru knows our spiritual potential, and he's always willing to help us to perfect those soul qualities. And calmness is one of them. Master said, "Calmness is the living breath of God's immortality in you." Calmness is the living breath of calmness in you. So, how did our Guru attain this state? How did Christ keep that divine composure in the thick of Kali Yuga? Well, in times of trial and times of joy even, they withdrew from the world to commune with God. They went into that inner sacred sanctuary of silence. And there they gained the strength and the all-embracing love to meet all with calmness, friends and foes alike. Our Guru said, "Poise is a beautiful quality. We should pattern our life by a triangular guide. Calmness and sweetness are the two sides. The base is happiness. Whether one acts quickly or slowly, in solitude or in the busy marts of men, his center should be poised." Christ is an example of that ideal. Everywhere he demonstrated peace. He passed through every conceivable test without losing his poise. Except maybe when he was dealing with the money changers. Speaking of keeping our poise, convocation can be a little like life itself for those that coordinate this event. It prevents two very dependable tests of calmness: people and technology. Technology is wonderful when it cooperates, and people are wonderful when they are happy and contented. And it's the people part that reveals whether our calmness is deeply rooted or just visiting us during our meditations. One experience that comes to mind whenever I come to the hotel here was years ago in the Santa Anita room. That's the room on the lobby level where people come to finish their registrations, pick up their pilgrimage tickets, and so on. I was serving behind a desk with some other nuns when a particularly difficult woman began showing up every day. And she would step in front, that room had long lines, and she would step in front of somebody in line, and she would insist, often boldly, that we meet her demands immediately. And some of her demands were very unreasonable. Anyway, her disruptive visits continued year after year. And gradually I began to think there's something more here than meets the eye. Something's going on. No one is pulling her out, and the Lord is allowing this to happen to us. The four of us who regularly faced her behavior tried to appear calm, but you've seen these people who seem calm on the outside, and they're vibrating something very different. That was us. So fast forward many years, picture this scene. This woman reaches the end of her life. She's passed on. She reaches the entrance of the astral heaven. Master comes, the other gurus come. They're slightly grave, and they look at her. And finally, in joyous unison, they all say, "Good job. Job well done. Welcome back to heaven." Surely all of you must have that person, now or in the past, that would try your patience. And Brother Anandamoy had a wonderful description of such a person, like a mouthful of hot molasses, too hot to swallow, too sticky to spit out. So a few years later, that woman was in the hospital, and she asked to see me and another nun. When we walked into her room, we didn't know what to expect. But the moment we saw her, we were deeply moved. She was radiant. She spoke of a beautiful experience that she had with Divine Mother. And it was obvious that something really profound had happened within her. Her eyes were just sparkling with pure joy. She knew that she had little time left remaining in her life, and she spoke of her cherished memories with SRF, and she sweetly apologized and asked if we would forgive her for all the extra work she caused us. Then she asked us if Divine Mother could love her unconditionally and forgive her. Could we also forgive her? Of course, we assured her that we would, and we did. She passed on soon after that, no doubt, in the loving arms of Divine Mother. And that experience stayed with me as a reminder that every one of us is loved by the divine, no matter what our flaws. And it also showed me that through God's grace and our desire, we can change. We can transform our lives, even up to the last minute of our incarnation. This devotee had a mission, whether she knew it or not, but she taught us that calmness is not measured by the absence of difficulty, but how we meet that difficulty when it arises. Guruji said, "Remember, if you remain inwardly calm under all circumstances, you can conquer anything or anyone. True calmness means that God is with you. If you become restless, you will irritate people, and they will be angry with you. Then you will be miserable. If someone is trying to get you upset, affirm continuously, 'I am peace, I am calm.' And say it deeply. No matter how others may try to shake you, hold on to that peace. Your nerves will then be calm." Just recently, just about a couple weeks ago, a dear friend of mine, another sister, was telling me of a situation that she was in. She had someone approach her who was complaining, had a long list of complaints. And she said that as this person was expressing all of their concerns, she was formulating the perfect reply. And she said, I had the perfect reply. I couldn't wait to tell her. And I said, well, what happened? And she said, Master got in the way. I said, what? Master got in the way? She said, I remembered his words, fools argue, wise men discuss. And this taught me something, because as we study the teachings, we absorb so much of Master that when we're in a situation like that, he will come to our rescue. We'll remember his words. I'm sure you've experienced that in your life from time to time. So most of you know of this wonderful little book entitled Inner Peace. I think it will be shown on the screen. How to be calmly active and actively calm. This is a wealth of wise, spiritual encouragement on calmness. And what brings the wisdom in this little book to life is when we meditate, and meditate on the words in this book. From Inner Peace, Master speaks of the stages through which calmness develops. He said, the ordinary man is all the time restless. When he begins to practice meditation, he is once in a while calm and most of the time restless. As he meditates more deeply, he becomes half the time calm and half the time restless. With longer, faithful practice, he is most of the time calm and only once in a while restless. Maybe that's us. As he perseveres, he reaches the state wherein he is always calm and never restless. Master said elsewhere, the trouble is that you do not meditate long enough, and so you fail to reach the state of complete calmness. But if each night, when everybody else is asleep, your mind is praying to God continuously, like a steady stream, then he answers. Pray to him, Lord, this life is thine. I cannot live without thee. I don't know how people live without some concept of God, or without at least a little bit of meditation. So, here are some simple practices to remember when we find ourselves in a stressful conversation. And I think you know most of them. It'll be a good review. First is to pause and remain quiet. Before replying, take one deep breath. Calm breath. Often it's in that instance when you know whether your calmness is going to take you through the situation or not. At the same time, affirm inwardly, as Guruji said, I am peace, I am calm. I am peace, I am calm. Even the words themselves have a calming effect. And then listen deeply. Listen to understand, rather than to prepare a reply, like my friend. Then respond, speak from the soul, with a sincere desire to preserve your peace more than to prove a point. When we lose our calmness in a difficult conversation, even if we win the point, we lose something much more important, and that is our inner peace. And if we do lose our inner peace, which happens, it happens to all of us once in a while, try to take a brisk walk, or go to your room, pray, meditate. Ask for understanding from God and Guru. That will restore peace to our hearts. In our new book, Journey with Paramahansa Yogananda by our beloved Dayamataji, there's a chapter entitled, Our Relationship with God Influences Our Relationship with Others. This is a masterpiece in how to behave. She talks about some down-to-earth skills of right behavior, and she says there are underlying metaphysical truths in how we behave This is an excerpt from that chapter. She said, "There may be times when it seems you are being misunderstood on all sides. That is not the time to go around defending yourself. The easiest response, the one that will give you great strength, is to go within and give it to God. Let it not be with the notion, I'm backing down, even though I know I'm right, but with humility. Confusion is all around me, Lord. Those whom I seek understanding are misunderstanding me, finding fault with me. Let me just retire in my relationship with you. Grant me your blessing to clarify my own understanding. You will be amazed at what this will do for you. Clarify my own understanding. As you become calm in meditation and introspect, you will suddenly realize, oh, this is what I have done that is wrong. This is where I must correct myself. In other words, you will realize in what ways you need to change yourself. Then she said, do not allow anyone to rob you of your peace, for no one can do so unless you permit it. Our guru did not allow anyone to rob him of his peace or anything else. One day in New York City, he was confronted by some robbers. Can you imagine? He could have easily defended himself. And with one mighty blow, they would have all fallen. He had that power. But instead, he calmly took out his wallet and offered it to them. These robbers were so stunned they didn't know what to do. They just stared at him and ran away. Where did that degree of calmness come? There was no fear, no anger. Guruji remained centered in the soul and disarmed them with his high vibration of peace. We know that meditation will not spare us from difficult people or trying situations, but it can give us the strength to govern our reactions and master the ego rather than being mastered by it. And practicing calmness does not mean that we never stand up to injustice. It means that when needed, we can do so with calm firmness rather than an emotional reaction. Oftentimes when I visit with my family, we reminisce, and my younger brother almost always brings up one experience that he had as a child that left a lasting impression on him. He and my older brother were walking along one day when the neighborhood bully approached them. And my little brother, he was very, very little, he kept looking to my older brother for help. What do we do? What do we do? And my older brother, he just said, keep walking, just ignore him, just ignore him. But the bully suddenly became a little brazen and started pushing my little brother around. Well, my older brother, who just happens to be a highly skilled wrestler, had that bully pinned to the ground, begging for mercy. It takes real strength to remain calm in a charged or threatening situation, and it takes wisdom to know when calmness must be joined by firm action. In this world of unrest and uncertainty, it can feel as though that everything in the world is pulling us away from calmness and peace. Most everywhere there's rush, there's noise, there's division. We are surrounded by a flood of unhelpful information. And it's all too easy to carry the agitation of the world into our conversations. That is why meditation, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. I think we've all figured that out. It returns us to the stillness of the soul, where we learn to respond rather than to react, to listen rather than to argue. and to become instruments of peace in a world that deeply needs it. Some years ago, I saw a cartoon of a man in Hades, a dark and dreary inferno. He was covered in soot and sweat. He was dressed in rags, and he was pulling a real wheelbarrow full of big boulders. But he was just beaming, whistling along, totally oblivious to his miserable surroundings. Well, there were two overlord demons, and they were looking down at him. And one of them said, "We are just not reaching that guy." Obviously, that guy had reached that perfect, calm center of the soul, even in Hades. Guruji said, "Quiet the outgoing mental restlessness and turn the mind within. Harmonize your thoughts and desires with the all-fulfilling realities you already possess in the soul. Then you will see the underlying harmony in your life and in all nature. If you harmonize your hopes and expectations with this inherent harmony, you will float through life on buoyant wings of peace." The beauty and depth of yoga lies in its bestowal of this invariable tranquility. And that invariable tranquility, we know that's a lofty aspiration, but guided by the Guru and your regular meditations brings us steadily closer to that state. So why don't we take a few minutes now and practice an affirmation? Affirmations help anchor in our consciousness the God-inspired thoughts by our God-realized Guru. And this one's brief, and it's beautiful, and we can take it with us throughout the day. So we'll repeat it 3 times. So please repeat after me. Perfect peace and poise are mine today. As I concentrate all my power and ability upon expressing the divine will. Perfect peace and poise are mine today. As I concentrate all my power and ability upon expressing the divine will. Perfect peace and poise are mine today. As I concentrate all my power and ability upon expressing the divine will. This and other affirmations by our Guru will keep our consciousness on a higher plane of existence as we navigate through all of our worldly experiences. Guruji said, "Real unending joy lies in attuning the consciousness to its true, ever-calm soul nature through meditation, and thus preventing the mind from riding on the crests of sorrow and happiness or sinking into the depths of indifference." This is another story of unruffled calmness, a favorite of mine, and so I think some of you have heard it before. It was many years ago in our office building. We had acquired a new photocopy machine, and one of our senior nuns was standing in front of the machine, playing with the new features and functions, and suddenly somebody showed up in the doorway and sharply criticized her. She asked why she was using that machine without having had some training, and she could ruin it, she could cause expensive damage, and she was criticizing her harshly. Another person was in the room and witnessed the whole scene in stunned silence. The senior nun, however, seemed entirely unaffected. With perfect calm, she simply said, "Thank you, you can train me." Not only did that answer de-escalate the situation, but it took all of the air out of that other person, who promptly left the room. When the woman asked the nun, asked her if she was all right, she calmly said, "Of course, I know her. And besides, I always have the last word." I don't know if some of you know Sister Gayatri. If you know her, you would understand. She was the epitome of calmness. Guruji said, "The state of constant calmness is attained by the continuous practice of meditation and by keeping the attention fixed at the point between the eyebrows." That is a higher state of consciousness. In this state of calmness, one witnesses thoughts and emotions and their workings without being disturbed at all, reflecting in one's consciousness only the unchangeable image of spirit. Guruji also said, practice even-minded calmness all the time. Be a king or a queen, an absolute monarch of your own mental realm of calmness. Let nothing disturb your peaceable kingdom of calmness. This even-mindedness, when maintained by regular deep meditation, removes boredom, disappointment, and sorrow from everyday life, and making it instead a deeply interesting and joyful experience of the soul. On the subject of absolute monarch of your own mental realm of calmness, Guruji's witnessed many such examples in Sri Yukteswarji when he was living with his guru in the ashram. One of those occasions occurred when a court deputy arrived at the Serampore ashram to serve a legal summons. And this story is related in the autobiography of a yogi. Guruji said, "A disciple named Kanai and I ushered the man into Master's presence. The officer's attitude toward Sri Yukteswarji was offensive. It will do you good to leave the shadows of your hermitage and breathe the honest air of a courtroom," he said contemptuously. Paramahansaji said, "I could not contain myself. Another word of your insolence and you will be on the floor." Notice Master did pause. Kanai was also shouting, "You wretch, dare you bring your blasphemies into this sacred ashram?" But Master, Sri Yukteswarji, stood protectingly before his abuser and said, "Do not get excited over nothing. This man is only doing his rightful duty." The officer, dazed by his varying reception, respectfully offered a word of apology and quickly sped away. Guruji said of Sri Yukteswarji, amazing it was to see that a master with such fiery will could remain so calm within. He fitted the Vedic definition of a man of God, softer than a flower where kindness is concerned, stronger than thunder where principles are at stake. He also said, Sri Yukteswar's intuition was penetrating. Heedless of remarks, he often replied to one's unexpressed thoughts. The words a person uses and the actual thoughts behind them may be poles apart. By calmness, my guru said, try to feel the thoughts behind the confusion of men's verbiage. So how do we know when we're developing this divine soul quality of calmness? Well, the first thing is, are we at peace within? Paramahansaji said that our real soul nature is calmness, developed by deep meditation. Do we feel that inner calm? Do we hold on to that calmness after our meditation? Next point, can we pause and reflect before reacting? Keep the attention here at the high center of the spiritual life, the center of the will. That one act of will can make the difference between a calm response and an emotional reaction. Can we listen simply to understand, or even to enjoy, without an ulterior motive? And when we stumble, can we forgive? Can we forgive another person? Can we forgive ourselves? There's a story I read of Amelita Galli-Curci, the renowned operatic soprano, and a deeply devoted disciple of our guru. She's mentioned in the autobiography of Yogi. And she wrote the preface to Whispers from Eternity, Master's wonderful book of prayers and inspirations. And I opened up Whispers this morning, and I opened to one of my very favorites. And this is how it goes. No loud or whispered words of prayer shall steal my love for thee. With the soul's unspoken language, I will express my urge for thee. Thy voice is silence, and through my silence, thou must speak to me and tell me that thou dost love me always. So I encourage you to read Whispers. They're beautiful. So back to our story. One evening, as she was relaxing in her dressing room after a concert, Galli-Curci heard a knock on the door. Quite accustomed to visits from aspiring young singers seeking free advice and encouragement, she sighed wearily and opened it. There stood a timid young girl, clutching a small bunch of roses. Galli-Curci invited her in and gently took the flowers from her trembling hand. Do you sing, she said. Oh, no, the girl replied, a little startled by the question. Well, then do you play? She asked, gesturing toward the piano. No, said the visitor, and then she added apologetically, I just listen. Galli-Curci smiled and impulsively embraced her. She said, I had quite forgotten, she said, that there are people who just listen. How many people have the respect and the humility to just listen? So simple and so rare. During her early ashram training, Daya Mataji was often reprimanded by the guru. He was training her. He was building in her a pillar of strength for her future role as president of a worldwide organization. How did Daya Mataji keep her composure? Well, she balanced her life of intense activity with deep meditation. Meditation was her sacred sanctuary. That's where she cultivated her love for God and that calm inner strength and humility. That beautiful passage entitled Humility, I'm sure most of you are familiar with it, was often read by Daya Mataji. She often kept it on her desk. It goes like this. Humility is perpetual quietness of heart. It is to have no trouble. It is never to be fretted or vexed or irritated or sore or disappointed. It is to expect nothing, to wonder at nothing that is done to me, to feel nothing done against me. It is to be at rest when nobody praises me and when I am blamed and despised. It is to have a blessed home in myself where I can go and shut the door and kneel to my Father in secret and be at peace as in a deep sea of calmness when all around and above is troubled. A deep sea of calmness. If we could all live with more calmness and humility, this world would be a better place to live in. One of the best ways to cultivate calmness is through regular meditation and practice of our SRF meditation techniques. Those of you who have Kriya, you know the inner calm that it brings. And Hangsa, that wonderful technique of calmness and concentration, can be practiced in any quiet moments we have during the day. Practiced regularly and whenever possible during the day, these techniques enhance our morning and evening meditations. Even 6 kriyas during the day, or some hangsa during quiet times, can center us back into that center of calmness. And through deeper practice and longer meditations, our consciousness draws closer to that superconscious state where we experience profound calmness and intuition. There, we often find the best answers to life's problems and our relationships. As we near to the close of our class, let us have a brief meditation together. Practicing Hangsa, practicing some few kriyas, and then we will end by chanting with Guruji, "Oh God, beautiful." So please close your eyes. By now you know the proper meditation position. And I'll read a couple excerpts from Inner Peace. Master said, "Meditation is active calmness, the positive state of peace found in scientific meditation. Focus your attention within. You will feel a new power, a new strength, a new peace in body, mind, and spirit. The more you feel peace in meditation, the closer you are to God. He moves nearer and nearer to you, the deeper you enter into meditation. The peace of meditation is the language and the embracing comfort of God." Let us now chant with Master.
Thou art service.
Om. Peace. Amen. As we return home, life will bring its tests, and relationships will continue to ask much of us. But the life lessons we learn through these experiences can draw us closer to God. And when those inevitable relationship tests come, as they surely will, remember to pause, affirm, and speak from the calm center of your soul, keeping your own peace. And let us remember the words of our revered president, Brother Chidananda, that he spoke at the end of this 3-hour meditation. He said, "You are a new person. You have been changed. You are resurrected in God. Walk in this world as an awakened child of God." You have been changed. You are resurrected in God. Walk in this world as an awakened child of God. And may this convocation continue for us in ways that we live, how we meditate and pray, how we serve, how we speak, and how we love. And may convocation go with you wherever you go in this world. Jai Guru. Jai Guru.